In a world where the news gets twisted, John and Tom stand tall, never wished it. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices feel less and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, laughing through the night, shining a light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom class through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, laughing through the night, shining a light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, laughing through the night, shining a light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, laughing through the night, shining a light. Oh, shining a light.
Why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed.
I'll give you my favorite President Trump story. This is my #1 favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal, meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And the translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room. Do you know for 18 months not a single American was killed in Afghanistan? That's the definition of strength. That's what I'm talking about. And so you can imagine that kind of sentiment being around the world. If we have an embassy in another country, no one's going to touch it because they're going to be fearful that they'll get a Moab on their head. That's how President Trump rolls.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
Migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse
President
me,
Harris,
the FBI defrauded.
Honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread
standing.
fraud.
That's the other thing.
There was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
And that's basically how it went, John. That's basically how it went.
Yeah, it was a 3-on-1. I you know what? For the first time ever, I thought that somebody else had worse odds than I did on the school board being outvoted 4-1. It was just a complete surrounding of Trump and battering him. Of course, the guy he never wavers. He's going to be strong in his opinion, and he was. And nobody came close to getting him off of his stance. And he was right, 100%. No, I mean, the fact is they've already gone back and re-fact check all of the actual things that have been said. And Trump was right in every single one. He was telling the truth. The FBI doctored their crime numbers. They did include cities like New York and Chicago because those cities don't provide their numbers to the FBI. And that's where crime is going out of control in most cases. Although it's growing out of control in some of these smaller towns like St. Cloud, like we'll talk about on the Florida show.
Yeah.
But this is it might as well have been a campaign stop for Kamala Harris. And if there had been an audience, they probably would have filled it with Kamala Harris supporters. It's just ABC News is untrustworthy. They have no credibility, and they've robbed themselves of any opportunity to prove themselves as an honest, legitimate journalism. Source of journalism.
Yeah, absolutely. They doubled down.
Yeah, they doubled down. You're right, 100%. Yeah, I'm experiencing a slight delay on my end, but yeah, absolutely. It's completely a double down of it. They were like, we didn't do anything wrong. They all say that. The Harris campaign says, oh, well, what are you talking about? There was a couple of points where I thought that was a question for Harris. I'm glad that she said that. But at the same time, it was like Trump couldn't say something without having to argue with the two moderators and Kamala Harris at the same time. And there were times when they didn't mute her mic the way it was supposed to be. So they violated their own rules that they agreed to. It was terrible. Just a terrible, terrible demonstration of what bias in the media leads to. The kind of perversion of thought process for the American citizen to watch this, and that's what they have to choose a president. I mean, it's not a silly thing, right? This is how Americans choose their president, is through debates and things like that, right? And the news has their thumb on the scale for Kamala Harris. It should be illegal. If you're going to be a news person, if you're going to be a news organization, you should tell the news, you should be honest, and there should be consequences for being a liar, right? There should be consequences. And they're the arbiters of who's lying and who's telling the truth, and then they're the ones that are lying at the same time. Of course, they pretend like they did a great job, just like school districts across the country are saying that they're doing a great job educating our kids, and we know it's not true.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America. This is what episode are we on tonight?
242.
This is episode 2. Yeah, absolutely. September 12th, 2024. We have a great news for you. We're going to talk about that debate. We're going to talk about the receipts that people like Megyn Kelly and RFK and Dr. Phil are bringing. We're going to talk about Trump gaining a new elderly fan who converted, and the last person that you would expect to be supporting Trump. But here he comes to the table. cats. They're using up their lives, their 9 lives really quick because they're finding themselves on the menu in Springfield, Ohio. The entire country is up in arms over this story where they're trying to figure out whether this is true or not. The debaters, what we were just talking about, the moderator was saying it wasn't true, and now we're finding out. Wait a second, just a little digging, and you find out there's a lot more going on to this story.
Yeah.
The American dream is becoming a dream for illegal migrants and immigrants, and it's becoming a nightmare for American citizens. And Colorado gets sued for forcing kids to sleep with kids of the opposite gender. Of course, kids known as trans kids without parental consent. And another Dem leader jumped to sinking ship. All this on and more on this episode of Unsanctioned America, episode 242. So thank you for joining us. I'm for my school board member, John, my great friend, citizen Tom Lord. We're this way. We are happy to bring this to you. We're going to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to get right down to the show. Lord, we're really grateful. We know that this is not a perfect country. It's not perfect. We know that we have, maybe we've enjoyed the top spot for so long, and being on the top of the world and being the sense of pride, stability, and justice for the entire planet had maybe gotten to our heads a little bit. And now we're realizing that our democracy, our freedom, our liberty, our way of as Americans, as the pinnacle of justice and freedom, is also vulnerable. And we're hoping that you inspire Americans to stand up and to fight for their country, to make sure that for another 250 years, we can remain in this spot where we're providing the world with hope and with the idea of freedom and justice and liberty and these God-given rights that we enjoy here. We pray that you continue to bless this country and bless the people that are here, and that you continue to make this country beacon for the world, and in a way that is true and honest. In your son's name is Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's get to it, Tom.
Let's get into some news. All right, John. So we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show about the immense, incredible bias by these moderators at ABC News. David Weir and that stupid woman, I don't even remember her name. But anyway, President Trump is upset too, and he's calling for ABC News to get their license taken away after that abysmal debate. Here he is on Fox and Friends.
Covered on ABC about Kamala. 100% of the time was positive. 93% of the time when they covered you, it was negative. So it was infuriating to watch them fact check you and not her when she brought up IVF, when she brought up Project 2025 several times, and when she brought up Charlottesville. Here are some of the lies that she said about you. Listen.
A detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Bloodbath was referring to the economy. Everybody loved the term because as soon as they heard the word, it's sort of a vicious word. But referring to the economy, they have created an economy. Bloodbath was the word that I used. And it was fine in that context. And they were trying to make it sound like there was a riot or something, and it was a bloodbath. IVF, I was a leader on IVF, the IVF, which is fertilization. I was a total leader on that. When I first heard about it, like right from the beginning, I was one of the leaders on it. And the Republican Party has been a leader on it. She tried to say it was just the opposite. The whole thing with abortion, what he said. I mean, it was incredible. I think he corrected me 6 times. And each time
Mr.
I was
President.
right. I believe each time I was right, didn't correct her at all. And she was saying these things. She was using, like, Charlottesville. She was using Charlottesville, and everybody, you take a look at Laura Ingraham. She did it incredibly. She had it totally debunked. She said that, in fact, it makes it angry. She gets angry when people hear about Charlottesville, when they use that. Because what they did is they stopped and they didn't put the following sentence in. And when they put the last sentence in, when it was all put together, what I said was absolutely perfect. And ABC knew that. Everybody knew that, frankly. I think they lost a lot of credibility. But regardless, look, the polls are saying that I won that by 80-20, 90. We have one here, 92-7, and I sort of believe that's right. I thought, look, I've been told I'm a good debater. I think it was one of my better debates, maybe my best debate. I think. I don't know. That's why I'm disappointed in this guy, Harold Ford. I don't know if he's still there, but I don't know what he was watching because he was just as dishonest as ABC, in my opinion.
You gotta love President Trump and his brutal honesty, you know.
Well, you know, and his pure confidence. The fact is, he's judging based on fact and truth, right? He's not judging based on who you think won. He's, in his mind, he told the truth. She lied. He did better, right? It's easy to say that he did better when the moderator on your side. He was like, I ran them all over. Nobody came to this event. If they had been just Kamala Harris at a town hall, is they going to bring more people than Trump? No, of course not. And she didn't just lie about the things that we just saw. She also lied about how many people go to his rallies and that people are leaving early because they're bored. I've been to several Trump rallies. I've never seen anybody not engaged from beginning to end. You know, he gets on TV and people are engaged from beginning to end. I mean, and she was right about one thing. It is exhausting. It's exhausting for a normal person to be there and be engaged with anything for 3 hours. You can go and watch, and when you leave, you're exhausted, right? That's what happens at a Trump event. So she lied about everything from the size of the crowd at the events to the most atrocious thing, which is saying that he's a racist because he was supporting white supremacists in Charleston. I mean, and everything in between. She just straight up lied, and they didn't even consider addressing it. They didn't even consider it. They didn't even I don't, no, there was no hesitation to let her pass on it. So I don't know. A lot of people are saying that she had the questions in advance. There are a lot of people saying that she had an earpiece in. You know, there's a lot of people saying that it was just a show. It was a setup. And I mean, I don't know. It didn't look so bad to be a setup, but certainly their bias was on display.
Yeah, without a doubt, John. I mean, you look at it, and it's just like, wow. And it's not just us that see it. You know, it's not just us and not just, fans of President Trump, MAGA Republicans. We're not the only ones that see it. Even Megyn Kelly sees it. She obliterated these moderators at ABC News, saying they're full of you-know-what, and says they're trying to steal an election. She actually brings some facts about ABC News and the president at ABC News. Now, if you have small children watching at home, you want to cover their ears for this because she does go off on a rant. There is some cussing, but there is some facts in this video.
I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed of those moderators at ABC News. They did exactly what their bosses wanted them to do. The person who runs ABC News is a close personal friend of Kamala Harris, that is responsible for Kamala Harris and her husband meeting. And they did Dana Walden's bidding tonight. It was 3 against 1 on that debate stage this evening. Hi, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly, a special program tonight for you reacting to the debate. It was 3 against 1. It's very easy to look like you know what you're doing when both moderators are entirely on your side. Trump did the best he could under the circumstances, but it really was like 3 fighters in the ring pummeling one opponent. And Trump tried to take them all on he did fine. He did as best as he could. He was thrown a few times to the point where he was unnecessarily defensive and he was getting angry. And so was I. Were you?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was a mistake to trust ABC News with this debate. The Republicans must learn from this mistake. The same way the Democrats never agree to do anything with moderators they don't entirely trust. This should be the last time the Republicans ever do this. Because those two moderators tried to sink Donald Trump tonight. The numerous fact checks on what he said and none on what she said. None. I don't remember a single fact check of anything she said, and she lied repeatedly. She just got away with it. In the moderator's eyes, that was Donald Trump's job to fact check her. That's correct. Except you didn't employ that same tactic when it came to Trump, and you accused him of lying even when it was your opinion that he lied. When Trump tried to say that his comment that he lost 2020 by a whisker was him being sarcastic, David Muir actually injected saying, I didn't hear sarcasm. Who gives a shit what you heard? Who died and left you political analyst in chief? You're supposed to be the objective news anchor of World News Tonight. That's a comment you make to your significant other, David, not on the debate. It didn't sound like that to me. Shut up. That is inappropriate. It's not for you to make that call. Leave it up to Kamala Harris. Leave it up to people like me who will play the soundbite and let the audience decide. But you were out of line, and they did it to him over and over and over again. And the worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers. Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer. It happened over and over again. That was the format.
She's 100%.
Mr. Trump, you're a piece of shit. Kamala Harris, isn't he a shit? Thank you. It was incredible. And then anything Trump said, fact check, fact check, fact check. And their fact checks were full of shit. I'm swearing even more than normal right now because I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm angry at them, at ABC, at my industry that I want nothing to do with. And I've never been happier to be outside and be able to say how I truly feel. And yes, even with some colorful words, because that's what the situation calls for. They're trying to steal this election. They're openly working to sink him. I think it was so bad, their bias against him and toward her, that it's going to backfire. I actually think the American public is going to see through this, and there's probably going to be some empathy.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And I don't blame her for being so upset. And I hope that liberals that were watching that debate, and you know that they're not feeling that way, John. They're not feeling like it was biased against President Trump. They're probably thinking it was fair and balanced, but it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't.
Morons. Morons. She's 100% right. She's 100% right. She could not have said it any better. This is an injustice to the entire country. Whether you agree with the opinions or not, the fact is that journalists, he's as mad as I am. For the first time, I've seen another journalist who's also mad as I am about what they've done to the industry. Here's the thing. I was a journalist. Then I went to the Army. I was a journalist in the Army. I was a journalist. I love journalism. I always thought I was a pretty good journalist. I fought hard to get the stories right. I decided that even though something may be beneficial to my career, I wouldn't do it if I couldn't substantiate it in a absolutely positive way. Positive meaning positive fact, not positive making people feel good. It was important to me to have integrity in the work. And these journalists just thrown it in the trash. And the history of journalism they just thrown it all in the trash. And now it's meaningless. Now it's a stupid what's her name? What's that crazy kid singer who's all over the news with a cat holding a cat recently?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. So some dumb kid comes up and that's like the story that goes out to the entire universe. She's the one influencing the masses with her opinion instead of what's actually going on with the world through proper journalism. I mean, it's a crime.
And she's not the only one either. RFK Jr., he's shredding these moderators for ganging up on Trump during this debate and refusing to fact check Kamala Harris. Watch this.
We had moderators who were clearly biased, who were constantly fact checking Donald Trump. None of these kind of whoppers that the vice president was saying, and none of her failure to really explain that, answer that first question, that very, very critical first question. They simply sat there on the sidelines and allowed that to pass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, John.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It's unconscionable. It's just her. This is demise. This is why our nation has got where it has, because cooler heads would normally prevail, right? And facts and justice and truth normally prevail. At least we felt that way about our country. And the reason it's not today is because these media organizations are controlled by people with agendas other than sharing information. Selling fake food and selling you poison and selling you bottled water that comes in a poisonous container, and and changing your kid's gender, and these are all agendas that are being sold to you by these mainstream media corporations. It's not news anymore. It's not news. There's journalists out there. The only journalists that are there are maybe the ones that are on X or the ones that are on
Well, John, Dr. Phil actually did an after debate town hall, and he brought on behavior analyst experts, and they exposed these moderators. Very interesting video.
Was there bias by the moderators today, in y'all's opinion?
Let's just look at body language. Look at the facial expressions of people when they're looking at Trump. There was clearly a bias against Trump in their faces. Let's take my other opinion. This is all my opinion. There's a little bit of a thumb on the scale when you ask one person 2 questions in a row as the primary question, and it's a softball question. That feels like bias to me. I would challenge them to tell me why that's not bias if I were in his situation.
At the same time, we're seeing the commentators, they would be speaking at the same time President Trump was. So as he's trying to finish his answer, they would not only answer, they would keep talking as well. And you can tell, and I believe, if I'm correct here, the volume of his microphone might have been a little bit hotter than everybody else's. That's why he sounded so loud. He was speaking loudly, but I think you'll hear this when you listen back and forth. This is my opinion.
Well, let me remind everybody that Scott's a Grammy-nominated music producer, so he knows a little bit about sound.
So I pay attention to that stuff a little bit. So he sounded a little bit louder to me. So that whether that was on purpose to make him sound more aggressive, I don't know, but he was pretty loud in there.
Here were the questions until I had to walk over here.
Yeah.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago? Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs? To Trump, why should women trust you on the issue of abortion? To Harris, why did the Biden administration wait until 6 months before the election to take action on immigration? To Trump, how would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? To Harris, why have so many of your policy positions changed? tracking assault rifles, the border. To Trump, is there anything you regret about what you did on January 6th? Do you acknowledge that you lost the 2020 election? And in each of these questions to Trump, there were fact-check follow-up questions, and I didn't hear that to Harris.
Nor did I. And there's a way you ask a question. I interrogated people for a long time, and when you're doing that, you want to look at, how do I ask the question? Why didn't you say, why have you not done anything about the border, as opposed to Trump, didn't you? There's a more negative tone often towards Trump. At the end of the day, this is about finding out what they think and giving everybody a chance to understand it. And I thought it was a little heavy-handed at times, just my opinion.
What?
Yeah, my opinion too.
Well, the whole world's opinion. I think that was obvious, right? So who are they fighting over? You know, what is this debate? Who does this debate appeal to? This 15, maybe, or this gap that's wider than ever before that might actually switch. Before it was like 3 to 7% of the country. You know, that's what everybody was fighting over. This 3 to 7% of the country who are truly independents, who could vote either way between two reasonable people, and that's where the election was really taking place. The battle was taking place. Now you have a 15-point spread where there's people who hate being Democrats, right?
Yeah.
That they're completely and totally embarrassed by the Democrat Party and their policies. And then there's a percentage that is just like Trump. They're like Trumpers, right?
Yeah.
And these never Trumpers, number one, that ideologically is about, wait, it's not the status quo anymore. I'm not the popular one. It's only Trump is the only one that's allowed to have oxygen in the room. So they hate Trump personally, right? So you have these two groups. Now you're looking at a 15-point. Percent and brought it to Trump. 5% of the entire voting population in the United States he's bringing over to Trump. And those are people that likely would not have voted for Trump, right? So like pluses, plus twos, you know? So it's, I mean, and the other 10%, you're going to lose 5% because they're just never going to vote for Trump no matter what. But that other 5% that is available, those are the people that get reached by the fact that they're so biased against Trump that they just get pissed off about the unfairness. They don't care anymore about the economy. They don't care anymore about the details. They never cared that much to pick a side left or right anyways. But damn it, I'm so tired of them cheating. I'm going to vote against it this time.
No.
And that's what they're doing. That's why they're hurting themselves. At least I hope that's my view. That's what I've learned from conversations with the community. Even here in Osceola, I think you're going to see the largest swing to the right that we've ever seen. Maybe not locally, maybe not for local people, but certainly for Trump. You're going to see Trump have the best numbers that any Republican has ever had in Osceola County.
God, I hope you're right, John. The primary results were not. They weren't something that made me feel like this was the case, but I'm hoping that it is the case going forward. But really what was interesting to me about what those behavior analysts said was, especially the one that was the Grammy-nominated music producer, saying that President Trump's mic was hotter than Kamala Harris's mic. In other words, ABC News was catering to Kamala Harris. They were catering to her. Yeah, and not just in the way that they weren't fact-checking her or that the questions were softball questions for Kamala Harris and they were tougher, more biased questions towards President Trump. But they also made the mic hotter for President Trump so he would sound louder and more angry, right? But not only that, but they also they made her podium smaller. She had a miniature podium during the debate. It was requested by Harris's team, who was afraid she would look tiny compared to Trump. So here's ABC News catering to Kamala Harris once again And here's an example. This is what it looks like, John. We can talk through it. There's no sound on this video.
Wow.
That's it right there.
Wow.
That's it right there.
Wow.
So, you see that
That's
the podium is much smaller than President Trump's. And that's so that when she's on camera, when they're switching back and forth, she looks about the same size. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable, man.
Here's the thing. That's not too offended by that necessarily, but people have to understand that's something that's happened before either. Okay? Like we saw people like what's his name? Kucinich, John Kasich, what is his name? I don't remember his name anymore. But Ross Perot, when Ross Perot was up on stage, right? When we've seen DeSantis didn't get a rebuild of a smaller podium because he's not 6'4" like Donald Trump is, right?
Right.
So they didn't do that for anyone. They've never extended that courtesy. But now ABC is going out of their way to build a replica of the podium used in miniature so that person looks better. That is election interference.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you disclose it. If you disclose it, then it's all hands off. But when you do it and it's hidden, that's election interference. Right? You're basically trying to influence the outcome of somebody's image of an event so that it positively impacts their campaign. I'm shocked by that. I'm just shocked that these things are happening. This is stuff that would happen in a third world country, in some asshole country like Venezuela.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's happening right here on ABC News. I'm shocked that I was surprised by this because I shouldn't be surprised by this, and neither should you. No, neither should anybody who's watching this right now should be surprised that ABC News would go bend over backwards, basically, for Kamala Harris to try and make her look good. You alluded to
Without
this.
disclosing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You alluded to this earlier on, John, that maybe, just maybe, she was wearing an earpiece, right? Well, many people believe that's the case, that she was busted wearing an earphone earring. These are made by a company called Nova. It's called the Nova H1 audio earring. It's the first and only wireless earphone embedded in a pair of pearl earrings on a gold or silver plated clip. Now, this is the commercial for the Nova H1. And look at this, and look at the earring that was in Kamala Harris's ear. You tell me whether this is the Nova H1 or not.
Earrings were merely a fashion statement, think again. Nova's H1 audio earrings is the world's first wireless earphones made with real pearls. Unlike conventional earrings, these earrings are placed on the earlobes and project the sound from inside the pearl straight into your ear canal. This directional sound technology can avoid sound leakage and keep conversations and music private and secure.
Wow.
I don't know, John. It looks like it to me. It looks like it to me.
Yeah.
And John, it makes sense. It makes sense that would be the case because if you remember Kamala Harris from the 2020 presidential primary with the Democrats, right? And she was debating with Tulsi Gabbard and a few others. She did terrible. And her 4 years with Biden right now, believe me, I don't think she's improved that much from then. She looked very polished. She did look nervous, but she looked much more polished and very, very much straightforward with her answers compared to 2020. I believe that was the Nova H1 in her ear.
Wouldn't be shocked if that was the H1 in her ear. It would make perfect sense that it was. They're willing to cheat. So put any kind of, because that's the one thing they would say, oh, it can't. No, you're a conspiracy theorist, Tom. That's not that. It wasn't that. Right. And the reason if somebody would be right is because it would be, they're controlled by their integrity. Right.
Yeah.
But they're okay cheating. It's obvious. We know that they're okay cheating. So now it's a matter of, can you prove it or can they prove it? Right. Somebody else was saying, to be fair on the show, that these were a pair of Tiffany earrings and they put commercials or whatever. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, who knows? And then somebody else was saying they made up that ad because they didn't want people to think that it was these no earrings. Who knows? And, the fact that we have to question it is a shame. The fact that we even have to question it, the fact that we can't trust these people just to go in there, it shows that clearly the Democrats did not put up the best talent when you can't even trust the fact that she can't do a debate on her own without the assistance. I mean, we've only done one interview, and that one interview happened to be with, her ventriloquist. I don't know what it was. Walls came with her and was there her emotional support animal, I guess. I don't know what that was. But she didn't even do it alone. It's weird. And I don't think that anybody believes. And here's the question that Americans need to be asking themselves. If she can't be trusted to do an interview by herself or to do a debate without being suspected of having an earpiece in,
you can't trust her to lead anything, and they're just paving the way for her. They're making it very easy for her. We shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be surprised. But yes, I believe it's the Nova H1. I have no doubt it was. I'm looking at it, and I've looked at multiple pictures. You can go online and see for yourself. They can call it a Tiffany earring all they want. And I've seen many women claim that they have a Louis Vuitton or a Tiffany, and it's not that. So I wouldn't be so quick and hot to believe it. But anyway, all right, John. So President Trump gained a new fan. And the funny thing about this, John, is that during the debate, President Trump said that Biden hates you, basically to Kamala Harris,
no, he said Biden hates her. By
Yeah.
the way, I know Biden hates her. The next day, what do we find? What do we see?
Yeah, look at this.
Running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got...
Now, originally they were saying that this was a fake video. They were saying that it was a fake video, but then the campaign did come out and claim it because there was multiple people shot video of this thing, and here's one of them from behind.
You know what? Put it on. Come on. Spencer do a selfie. There you go. I'm proud of you now.
He says, "I'm proud of you now, you old fart."
Yeah. So here's the funny thing about this situation is that video is that interaction with the American public is the interaction that people throughout the entire country like the most about Joe Biden. There's not a single other interaction of Joe Biden with the American people like me. Why do you think that is? It has nothing to do with that MAGA hat. It has everything to do with, for the first time in 4 years, perhaps in 40 years, we see an authentic interaction between Joe Biden and the American public that is not ugly, because other authentic interactions with the American people has been he's like challenging people to a fight, right? Or insulting them because they ask him tough questions. In this one, he's just being humble for a moment and putting the hat on, and that endeared him more to the American people than 4 years as president.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering. I'm wondering if the pressure is off for him. You know what I mean? If like the pressure is off for him, he's just feeling very loose and free right now because he knows he's not running again It's over, basically. They're putting all their stock in Kamala Harris, and he can just sit back, eat his ice cream, go sit on the beach. Doesn't have to worry about anything. He can have these interactions with the public, which are genuine, like you said, and feel good about it. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, Joe Biden wants to be liked. He wants to be liked. He doesn't want to be remembered as he's currently going to be remembered as the worst president in American history. But if he can try and find a way to be liked by people, here it is. You know what I mean? He'll put on the MAGA hat.
And I think that, like I said, that endeared him to a lot of people. It showed him as humble and friendlier, and just he looked like a nice old man.
Yeah.
In this video. And that's probably the best thing that that's the best way for him to be able to go out. Because basically, you have to remember also that this is a pressure pot, right? Being the president, you're in like a pressure chamber. And like you said, there's no more pressure, there's no more whatever. And he's letting off steam and he's just being a regular person. Now he shows that maybe he doesn't hate Trump. Maybe this isn't so much like anger and vile and just bitterness and whatever that he has demonstrated and said about Trump and whatever. So it's the best he's ever been. It just seemed like a nice guy. It would be like if somebody out in the street, right? People were surprised by me in person as opposed to me on a dais, right? And so when I meet somebody in person and they're like, I'm not a monster. There people are always like, oh, you're not. I thought that you were a monster. Well, I'm not a monster all the time, right?
No.
So now we're seeing Biden not this lunatic with dementia. So,
well, he's still an old man with dementia, but maybe he's not as mean.
Yeah, he's still got dementia. He's not as mean and vile and bitter as we thought he was, perhaps.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's clear that he is those things with Kamala Harris because he would never have put that hat on. Never would he have put that hat on. A disciplined politician would never have put, I can't stress that enough, never have put that hat on without the intention of a statement behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you wonder, I mean, where were his handlers? Have they taken the day off? Are they taking time off now because he's not running anymore? The handlers can go away. I'm surprised that they would let that happen, but
I think that they are the people that are still with him are people that are sad to see him go. Right, they're his team. Maybe they're loyalists to him, right? And then at the same time, I mean, how are you going to control him now?
Yeah,
they're going to try to make him happy.
Yeah.
God forbid he endorse Trump. Can you imagine that?
They'll kill him first. I'm sure.
They'll kill him. They'll kill him.
All right, John. So before we go across the nation, we have this important message from President Trump.
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
All right, John. We are back. This story, John. This story is just absolutely crazy. I it blows my mind. But we heard it earlier during the debate. President Trump was talking about it. David Muir said that is unfounded, that it's not true. But we have evidence to the contrary, John. This Springfield, Ohio man claims he saw Haitian migrants in a van catching cats, and they later admitted to the police that they were eating them.
Hold on, wait. Before we get into the story, we have to talk about this issue. This is a crazy thing that is sweeping the nation right now. It's a story that from coast to coast, people are talking about. Memes are flooding the internet. Social media is obsessed with it right now. What is going on with this cat eating story and so on?
Yeah.
We saw during the debate, we're making fun of Trump, saying that, I guess Trump said they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and everybody just jumped on it, and they're like, oh, are these cats in the room now? And making all these jokes about Trump. It takes 5 minutes to go out and find that there's a serious issue behind here. Yeah. And let's check it out.
Yeah, here it is. Here's this video.
We've lost a whole bunch of cats. There was a van pulled over that had over 100 cats in it with the Haitians. They said they was eating them.
Actually?
Yeah.
Not fake news.
Not fake news.
So a van was collecting cats and eating them.
I watched it happen, yeah. Watched them get pulled over with the cats and admit to the police that they was eating them.
You're not joshing with me.
No, I'm almost 50 years old, buddy. No.
You don't mess around.
No.
All right, so there's one person saying that they were going around. Now, like you had said, John, they were making fun of this story. J.D. Vance had a good response to Caitlin Collins, who after the debate wanted to go after J.D. Vance about this story. Here's that.
He brought up this misleading false claim that you yourself have talked about in recent days about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, abducting people's pets and eating them, which officials there have said is not true. You yourself acknowledged it may be false on Twitter. You still told people to keep spreading it. But Trump just amplified it to tens of millions of people who were watching. Why push something that's not true?
Well, first of all, city officials have not said it's not true. They've said they don't have all the evidence.
They said they have no evidence.
We've heard from a number of constituents on the ground, Caitlin, who both firsthand and secondhand reports saying this stuff is happening. So they very clearly, meaning the people on the ground dealing with this, think that it is happening. And I think that it's important for journalists to actually get on the ground and uncover this stuff for themselves when you have a lot of people saying, my pets are being abducted, or geese at the city pond are being abducted and slaughtered right in front of us. This is crazy stuff. And again, whether those exact rumors turn out to be mostly true, somewhat true, whatever the case may be, Caitlin, this town has been ravaged by 20,000 migrants coming in. Healthcare costs are up. Housing costs are up. Communicable diseases like HIV and TB have skyrocketed in this small Ohio town. This is what Kamala Harris's border policies have done. And I think it's interesting, Caitlin, that the media didn't care about the carnage wrought by these policies until we turned it into a meme about cats. And that speaks to the media's failure to care about what's going on in these communities. If we have to meme about it to get the media to care, we're going to keep on doing it because the media should care about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man, I love it. And I tell you what, I'm starting to like J.D. Vance a lot.
Yeah. He has a point. And the thing is, Caitlin Collins says there that there is no evidence, that they've talked to the police and the officials there. There is no evidence. Well, John.
Well, she didn't even say that. She didn't even say that they spoke to the officials. She just said that the officials said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, unofficial, instead of being a journalist and digging down to see who said what and saying who said it and whatever, what they're doing is they're looking, somebody's sending me an excuse. And somebody says, oh, I doubt it. Oh, they write down. What do? They report, oh, this is not true. Instead of digging down and finding out the facts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is journalism is dead.
Yeah. Well, here's the facts, John. Communities like this are begging city councils to address the hundreds of thousands of indigent migrants living on neighborhood streets. This Haitian woman arrested in Ohio for allegedly eating a woman's pet cat. So Caitlin Collins is saying there's no evidence. The officials don't have no evidence. Here's police body cam footage right here.
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me. Smile, what did you? Go like this. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Did you guys see all this?
No, we pulled up and she was just laying there with it.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah, she was.
You call the Humane Society to see if they'll come pick this cat up. It's deceased.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? This is somebody eating a cat alive. That video, the whole thing says the cop at one point says she had cat fur all over her mouth. Okay? There was blood on her body and cat fur on her mouth. These people are eating cats alive, I guess, or killing the cats and eating them raw. I don't understand. This is, I mean, it's like they're trying to bring about the zombie apocalypse or something. What is going on? And the fact is that these journalists aren't telling the truth about this story. The officials in Springfield, I don't know if they're Republican or Democrats, but they're not being honest with the American people. But here's what we know is true. He was saying, J.D. Vance was saying that their healthcare costs have skyrocketed. This is a community of about 56,000 people. 20,000 Haitian migrants have landed on top, smothering that 56,000 people, right? There's an entire wing in the hospital there dedicated to providing care for Haitians with HIV and AIDS. Right? Can you imagine the amount of stress on the infrastructure? Look at Osceola County. Look at the cities and counties in Florida, how we're dealing with development growth. This is now 50% of their population overnight practically in terms of growth, and now they're having to deal with the care. TB was like a 600% increase. Okay, these are like crises after crises after crises. It's like having a broken arm and then having your arm set on fire on top of it. They're not even related injuries, but they're catastrophic, equally catastrophic. And this is all happening to a group of 50 people. That's not that many people. That's only, I mean, just 10 years ago, the city was probably 60,000 people.
Yep.
So imagine 20. We experienced that here in this community of Osceola with the amount of growth coming here. Now imagine if they all had AIDS and then they started eating our pets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling that this is not a nationwide story out the cats.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that a community goes from 56,000 to 76,000, okay, in a short period of time, and those are all immigrants, should be national news when it rewrites the entire cultural outlook of that community. And these are not people who are trying to assimilate. I think you talked about this earlier in the prep time, right?
Yeah.
These aren't people that are coming here and trying. This is like a zombie apocalypse. I don't understand how this is not national news. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You know, my grandparents on my mother's side immigrated here. My grandmother from Italy and my grandfather from Puerto Rico through Spain. They wanted to be Americans. All right. They came here wanting to become Americans, right? But a lot of these migrants that are coming here now, that are getting the free pass, they're not, they're just coming through the border, getting set up. They're not coming here to be Americans. They are coming here to take advantage of America. All right. They still want to be who they are from back home. And a lot of this stuff with the cats about eating them, they use their blood and bones for voodoo rituals, and this is known. This isn't like some crazy stuff that I just came up with. This is known facts. These are known facts, and you can ask anybody that's from those islands down there, and they will tell you this. That the cat is like good luck to them, and eating it, gives them some kind of good luck or something. I don't know. But this is where culture really does come into play, and it does matter, because you can't just take somebody from a different culture and bring them in here and expect them to assimilate to our culture like that, especially when they have no interest in doing it.
Well, they already are the they're the largest group of people, so they're the dominant culture overnight, right? So they take an American town and then they turn it into a voodoo town.
Yeah.
Overnight. I mean, imagine if St. Cloud. Look at St. Cloud. The city council in St. Cloud has been a disastrous for the people of St. Cloud and District 5 in general. Now imagine bringing 50,000 Haitians or 50,000. I don't care if it's 50,000 Frenchmen. Right? Bring 50,000 Frenchmen with their brie and baguette. Everybody in St. Cloud is going to be eating baguette. Right? I mean, this is a huge cultural shift. You have to consider the human aspect of, you have to be able to assimilate. or you're going to be overrun. These people in Springfield being overrun, and this has all kinds of implications with the cat thing, right? And the cat is only a small aspect of this story. But number one, they're stealing property of Americans, right? So this is a crime. They're cruel to the animal, crime. They're eating the animal, health problem. They're bringing disease, problem. They could be released from the jail. Like we already know that it's true that countries like Venezuela are releasing people from jail with the condition that they go to the United States as an illegal alien, right? So these people could be criminal already. They're coming here. They have no respect for our laws. They have no understanding. They're without insurance, without licenses. This is catastrophic to a city. Springfield has ceased to exist in the way that people would recognize it for the people of Springfield. And there's I don't understand why the leadership of Springfield isn't on Fox and ABC and CNN, except that those latter two probably have no interest in reporting on it. But they should be on national television talking about how their city has been destroyed by these policies.
Well, it's like you said, John. It's probably run by a bunch of liberals. They're probably pretty happy with the situation, as long as it plays into the agenda, the greater agenda that they have as a party, as a group. But like I said, John, this isn't.
It might be like,
right,
where they're just corrupt,
and
it's for themselves. So they're selling out Springfield and the resources of Springfield and the futures of the citizens and residents of Springfield and those children and those families, those American families. They're selling them out for their own personal greed. That's what's happening here.
Well, yeah. How much federal money are they getting because these migrants are coming into their area? You know what I mean? You got to ask these questions. But like I said, this isn't like made up stuff that we're talking about here with these cats and this stuff. You can go online, and I don't suggest Google, all right, because you probably won't find it under Google. But if you go on X, you go on DuckDuckGo or any other route, you search, and you can find these videos of people from Haiti, and I'm not saying all people from Haiti, but there are some that will cook these cats. Here is a video from 2020 over in Italy.
Come se fa, sono figli nostri. Non ho cosa.
That's a cat.
Non ho cosa, non vuol dire, qui non siamo dove vai tu? Dove vai tu? Ora ti mando io in galera. Te ne vai in galera, te ne vai, vergogna. Guarda che stai a fare, vergognati. Cosa fai? Cosa fai? A mangiare, te ne vai al lavoro come lavorano tutti. Invece di tenere là che i sigarette, i soldi ce li hai per le sigarette e non hai soldi per comprarti il pane, vergognoso, schifoso che non sei altro, schifoso, vergogna, guarda qua, guarda che sta a fare sta povera creatura, guarda qua, vergogna, ma dove andate al vostro paese? Andatevene a mangiare, vedo che le sigarette qui ci sono però, quindi non è mangiare quelli. Non è mangiare, quelli non si comprano. Invece di comprarti 50 sigarette, comprati il pane invece di ammazzare la creatura. Sì, ti preoccupare.
Wow.
Vergognosi, schifosi.
It's insane, John. It's insane. And I think that the more people see this, and especially if it comes to their town, that's probably what it's going to take. You know what I mean?
Well, what are these idiot liberals thinking? What are they thinking? They're like, oh, people are. Well, no, culture is destroyed in this fashion, right? And I don't care what anybody says. Whatever you say that's ugly about the United States, the fact is we have a great American culture. It is a mix of variety of culture, but in the end, what ties us all together, what binds us together, is that we live in a country that has the rule of law, and that your rights come from God. And they don't have this. Is not that. These are the survival of the fittest. That's all it is, right? Like in these, they're warlords, they're gang wars. It wasn't Afghanistan. Like you didn't have any kind of government. It was just warlords. And if you can gather a group of men with enough weapons, you go and you take over your neighbors and you do whatever. It's just savagery, human savagery. And I know very well what that looks like. So that's what this is. That's what this is. When they have no respect for the people that are there, there's no respect for the laws that are in place. There's no respect for the culture that people are enjoying. There's no respect for the public peace. This is a takeover. This is an invasion. They talk about invasion. This is the foothold of that invasion, and it's absolutely terrifying to me. And these people who are following along with the liberal products are all these nutcases. It's the same nutcases, same blue-haired moron, the same Satanists who are, trying to keep chaplains out of our schools and threatening people with Satanism. And and we see that actually happening. And people think, oh, well, John crazy right now. No, that just happened at that last school.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Satanists are fighting for your kids, and now these illegal immigrants and migrants are now fighting for your pets. I mean, when does it get jokingly? When does it sound like a joke enough for you to get serious about it?
Yeah.
These things sound like jokes, but now that they're actually happening, when are you going to wake up?
Yeah.
When are you going to wake up? If you're an independent voter and you don't know who to vote for at this point, I wish that you would go. I wish that they would just wrap you up with the and deport you to somewhere else. It's just I can't have any more patience any longer for Americans who forgot how to be an American. I hope that they enjoy eating cat soon.
Yeah, and absolutely, John. Shame on you if you don't know who you should vote for this election cycle. I mean, God. Anyway, all right. Well, talking about migrants, John, this is what certain areas are doing for them, like New York City. They're giving away $4,000 in grant money to help them transition out and start their new lives. So, over in New York City, we're going to give them $4,000, to buy a house, get started out in life here in America. This is basically achieving the American dream, right? Without doing anything to earn it.
This is incredible. So in Springfield, they are actually getting, I think, $1,600. These Haitians that are there, they're getting $1,600 a month, right? Now, and they're getting all types of federal assistance and state assistance apparently as well. And any aid or subsistence aid from the government that goes to an American citizen, they are also eligible for. These immigrants are living better than poor people in the United States. The poor in our country are living worse than the illegal immigrants and migrants that the United States is flying over here and flooding our communities with. How is this right? Are all these people who are so charitable and they use that as the reason to be a liberal? How does this play along with what's going on? Listen, these countries, they're not starving in their own country, right? They're starving under their government. Nicaragua is a very poor country where my family comes from, right? It's like the third poorest or second poorest country in Latin America. Okay. And there's not a lot of starving people there because there's food growing on trees and all around you. You eat well there. Right. So they're not starving in these other countries. They get starved by their governments. They're coming here and they're eating better than the poor people in our country who are actually hungry. How does this make sense? This makes sense. I mean, you have to question at some point, are people trying to intentionally ruin our country and burn it down? I mean, is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, it sure seems that way, doesn't it, John? Sure seems that way. And especially, at the end of the day, we have to thank God that we live in the free state of Florida, that we are here and not dealing with the things that they're dealing with in New York, in Springfield, Ohio, in California, or even here in Colorado, where families have to sue the school district for rooming their children with transgender classmates of the opposite biological sex and hide it from parents. This is just a crazy story, John. basically what's going on here, this scandal began in 2023 when Joe and Serena Wales discovered their 11-year-old daughter was assigned to the same bed as a biological boy on an overnight trip. Their lawsuit against the Jefferson County School District and School Board accuses them of always prioritizing the male students' privacy and feelings over their daughters. The Wales are joined by 2 other families who also object to the district's policy of sorting students by gender identity instead of biological sex. And, it's like I said, thank God we're here in Florida, because you ain't going to find that happening here. But, man.
I hope that they sue that district into the ground and it has to be rewritten. I mean, I don't understand how that happened. So you don't talk about these bleeding heart liberals again. One of their causes women who vote to the left, and they vote for women's rights, and they talk about their bodies. Look how they're victimizing this poor girl. There's no liberal who can watch that and agree with what's happening in Colorado right now and in Florida and everywhere. Because this is happening everywhere, right? This abuse of females is happening everywhere. They're all being victimized by this transgender craziness. Anybody who can sit by and watch that and be okay with it is a farce. They're a lie. They're a lie. They're a walking deceit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, John, the Democrats' platform this election cycle is abortion and women's rights. That's their whole platform, basically. That's all they talk about. But the funny thing is that they're all about protecting women's rights when they can't even define what a woman is right now. So, anyway, moving on, John. This is the final story of the night.
Before we go on, I'm still considering it, because I'm looking at those rules on joining the LPGA. So if I can get a free set of golf clubs, it's still in the cards for me, I think.
Yeah. I think you'd be great, John. Might have to shave, though.
On the female tour, I'd be great on the female tour. Unfortunately, I wouldn't even be great there.
Yeah. So finally, John, this is our final story. We are at the 1 hour and 11-minute mark. So this is the final story of the night, and it's a feel-good, take-it-home story. California Democrat Gloria Romero, who served as the state Senate Majority Leader, has just announced she's leaving the Democrat Party and becoming a Republican, and will be voting for President Trump this November. Here she is.
Behind me, I served as both Senate Democratic Caucus Chair and the Senate Majority Leader. But today I say goodbye. Adios. I've had enough. I am now another near lifelong Democrat who is joining the growing number of people, including key groups like Latinos, who are leaving the Democratic Party. This is not the Democratic Party that I once championed. I do not recognize it anymore, and I cannot continue. I changed my voting registration today as the sun was rising to Republican, which has, under Donald Trump, become the champion of working people, the big tent. And indeed, I will vote for Donald Trump this fall. While there are several issues that I could highlight for this action, let me just list some that are most prominent.
Well, yeah, that's enough. But anyway, yeah, exactly. It just shows so many Democrats are leaving the party because they feel like the party has left them. They feel like this is not the party that they signed up for originally. It's not the party of the working man anymore. It's the party of the elitist class.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. It's who's benefit from this? There's 2 groups: people who are not allowed to vote by law, immigrants and illegal aliens, right? And then the ultra rich or the elite. That's it. Those are the only 2 people. Corporations. Now the Democrats are the party of the consumer, right? Not even the consumer, the people who take advantage of consumers.
Yeah.
So, of course, people are leaving the Democrat droves. That's why Florida has gained 1 million Republican voters over a very short span of time. And I suspect that if the GOP does not mess it up, then we're we're going to see a red wave in these next elections. Maybe not in Florida, but we will see a red wave throughout the country is what I'm hoping. It'd be great to see a red wave in California, New York, and places like that. But I'll take Pennsylvania and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, places like that, cities and states where they're on the edge. They're on the edge where they still have some normal people there. California, you can't hope that anybody is normal in California anymore, right? You can't have the expectation that there's normal people in New York anymore. But you can still have the expectation, the hope, and prayer that people are still normal in states like Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John. So that's it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Unsanctioned. On behalf of myself, School Board Member John Arguello, my great friend, citizen Tom Lord, this way right here. Thank you for joining us. Please like and share the show, and we'll see you tomorrow night, probably tomorrow night for Unsanctioned.
All right.